Viksit Bharat. And while the share of manufacturing may have come off in the last few years, the focus of the government as well as the private sector seems to be on enhancing the manufacturing prowess in India. And as we stated, one group present across key manufacturing industries and actually key service industries is Mahindra & Mahindra. And the architect of the group's current strategy has also a sharp mind on what the nation can do to enhance the manufacturing prowess. Dr. Anish Shah, absolute delight to be with him in this fireside conversation. Dr. Shah, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks, Neeraj. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So I think the question on everybody's mind is that if there's so much of focus on manufacturing of the nation as a whole, policies for it, etc., how is it that the share of manufacturing in GDP isn't quite inching up at the pace that it should? If anything, it's maybe come off a little bit, but that may be because services have done really well. How do you view that enigma?
It takes time for that change to take place. And a number of efforts have been put in place already to make it easier to do business in India, to improve infrastructure, to reduce logistics costs, to have companies focus on innovation. And all of that starts coming together at some point. From a Mahindra Group standpoint, our leaders 20 years ago had a vision, and their vision was to create R&D in India, to ensure that India could create the best vehicles, and that was the birth of the Mahindra Research Valley in Chennai. As I said, it takes time, and it has taken us time as well to really be able to harness the strength of our research center. And what you've seen over the last 5 years is products that were put in place earlier, but we are delivering now. What you're seeing in the last 5 weeks are our electric vehicles that are also coming, which are entirely born in India and out of research and development here. But it takes time for that to happen. And today we feel very proud that our products are of a quality that can match up to any international standard and can really compete with anyone out there in the world.
Yeah, well, that showed in the way the bookings happened on Friday, and quite stunning, really, Dr. Shah. So just trying to understand, I mean, you reckon that, and congratulations on that number, by the way, quite fascinating, though I must say that it didn't come as a surprise. I mean, the sneak peek that people got of the two vehicles that you kind of opened up, if I can use that term, it was partly anticipated because they just look so good. So great stuff there. I would love to understand, as you think of the group strategy, and you're a large group, you're the architect of that strategy, as you think of the group strategy over the course of the next 5, 10, 15 years, do you reckon the opportunity and the incentives for enhancing manufacturing are there for you and other groups to really enhance the Indian manufacturing prowess? Because without that, the goal of Viksit Bharat might not quite be achieved.
So we feel very confident about that, especially after what we've seen with our electric vehicles and what we've seen with our tractors. So India clearly has the ability to manufacture at scale, to manufacture at a lower cost. It does require a few more efforts for that to happen, but we've been able to show this with our products. And we've had many questions over the years around how will you compete with all the foreign companies coming into India. There have been many who've written us off at multiple times over the last 20, 25 years as well, saying that the entry of such and such company is going to be the death knell for us in either automobile or in farm. And our teams have been able to show that they can manufacture in India at strength and be able to compete with the global majors in a very significant way. Over the last year as well, on electric vehicles, there were a number of questions saying, how are you going to compete if such and such company comes into India? And our response has always been, our products will speak for themselves. And that's what they're doing today. And this is a strength that not just us, but we see other Indian companies also bringing to the fore and essentially setting up the opportunity for India to be a manufacturing hub for the world. And that is what we aspire to, and that is what we feel confident we will be able to deliver in our path to Viksit Bharat.
Okay. And I'm going to make this equal parts manufacturing as well as services, because less Mahindra and Mahindra, I mean, yes, the dominant share is auto. There's lots beyond that, right? And would love to talk about that too. But just for a moment, because you mentioned that point, I can't not invoke that conversation, right? This whole talk of one Tesla coming in, the Chinese companies, BYD, etc., making their presence felt. Now, your numbers, booking numbers speak for themselves. But I'm still trying to understand, not just for Mahindra Group, but for others within the auto ecosystem, how would the industry face up to deep-pocketed global car companies or vehicle companies wanting to create their foothold in India? Just trying to understand.
Neeraj, that's a question we've been answering for the last 25 years. Because that's exactly the question that was there 25 years ago when various deep-pocketed global players came into India and Mahindra was written off as dead, saying you're not going to be able to compete with them. Right? That's happened on multiple occasions. Today, we have the products that speak for themselves. And in fact, we went to the extent where at our launch, at our test center in Chennai, we actually had some of the best vehicles in the world there, along with our vehicles, and we invited the folks at the launch to drive all of them. And our vehicles stood up extremely well against some of the best vehicles, some of which were priced 3 times or 4 times our vehicle as well. So that confidence today comes from the people we have, from what they've done, from what they've developed. And therefore, we feel fairly good about the fact that we can compete with various folks. And I'm glad you were talking about services as well, because we do remind everyone we talk to that auto today is just 1/3 of what we do. Mahindra plays in 70% of India's growth over the next decade. And we are in multiple sectors, and some of those are growing very well and contributing very significantly to our businesses as well.
Yeah, most certainly, and I'll come to that. Just so, sorry, if my question came across that, oh, Indian companies will find it difficult to compete with global brands, no, because in some sense, Indian companies are global brands unto themselves. Your tractors in the US, I mean, making a mark, right? And Indian tech companies making a mark globally. So I didn't mean it that way. What I was just trying to understand, because a lot of these global brands are very famous per se, and there might be an allure for that. But I get the answer. You're saying that the products for you and for other companies will speak for themselves. Now, my question is the current economic momentum in India, which is maybe a bit slacking in Q2, picking up slightly in Q3, conducive for Indian companies to think big in the near term? Is this a passing phase, or is it difficult to say whether this intermediate slowdown that we have will get over in a hurry or not?
So there, Neeraj, we feel that the fundamentals in India are very strong. And they are further strengthened by some of the actions over the last few years. The digital stack today makes it much easier for us to do business across multiple sectors. Improvement in infrastructure is starting to bring logistics costs down. And a combination of all of these will enable the economy to grow even faster. We see this recent slowdown as a blip, and with some of the actions taken, we feel that we will be back on track. I personally do expect that we should be seeing growth north of 8% in the near future as well. And that's something that I think the Indian economy will be able to deliver, because we've grown at 6.3 to 6.5% over the last 30 years. And there are a number of positives that we have in place today that we didn't have over the last 30 years. So we should be able to see a faster growth rate. And we're investing in a significant manner across multiple industries. And we feel very bullish about the India story.
Yeah, there's some bit of pivot that this budget has taken, if you will, right? That there is a focus on consumption being given. It may be a small portion of the overall economy size, but it has a multiplier effect, the moves taken in the budget, if you will. Do you reckon that this move towards 8% growth, and I heard you say near future, it may be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, depending on where you believe. In fact, would love to know that as well, if you have a kind of time gauge in mind. But 2, would consumption and manufacturing both play an equal part into this, or can it ride on the plank of manufacturing alone?
It has to be both, because consumption is what will drive further private sector capex. And there has been concern, and rightly so, that private sector capex hasn't quite kept up, and government capex is really what has taken the economy forward over the last 3 or 4 years. But private sector capex comes in when capacity utilization goes higher. That's driven by consumption. And therefore, we feel that this is the right path to take. And this consumption boost will enable private sector to put in even more capex, and that creates a virtuous cycle that allows the economy to grow faster.
It's been elusive, sir. I mean, this capex, and I'm not blaming the private sector, right? The private sector will put in capex. I'm not talking about you, but in general, the private sector will put in capex when they see the right kind of IRRs for the project. But private sector capex has been elusive. Do you believe that we will sooner rather than later see this again? I mean, is there some estimated timeline that you reckon, maybe in 2025, 2026, that there's a higher probability of private sector capex coming back with a bang?
So the one metric to look at is capacity utilization across sectors.
Right.
And that has been inching up. In a number of sectors, it's over 75%. In a few sectors, it's over 80%. So as it starts getting over 80%, that's the right time for companies to start thinking about capex and making sure that they have enough capacity to meet the demand going forward. As consumption increases and we see further growth, it only accelerates the need for private sector capex. And you're right, for us, we've tripled capacity in the auto business in the last 4 years. We've added significant capacity to farm, to a number of other industries as well. And that's because we've seen demand for our products, and that will drive further private sector capex. So again, we feel that India is well positioned right now. The actions that we've seen the government take have been for the long term and to create stimulus for the economy in the recent past around the short term for consumption as well. And that's the right set of actions that will enable private sector capex to come in and provide a further boost.
Okay, you are an industry captain, but a lot of our audience are investors. I would love to know. The worry seems to be that we are not getting out of this growth quagmire. I know I'm maybe repeating this question, but I'm just trying to understand. We've seen a bit of an uptick in quarter 3 numbers relative to quarter 2 numbers. The hope is that Q4 and then Q1 onwards, some of these moves that the government has taken will take or bring about an impact. Do you reckon, I know you mentioned that there's no reason why India can't grow at 8%, but I'm not going that far. I'm trying to understand, do you in your wisdom believe that, let's say, quarter 1 FY26 or maybe quarter 2 or quarter 3 onwards, we will actually see meaningful growth come back? Is there some estimate around the timelines that you have?
So if you look at rural India, we've seen growth coming back already.
Okay.
So our estimate for the fourth quarter is that tractor sales will be 15% higher than the previous year from an industry standpoint. And that's a fairly significant level of growth for tractors. It's in a very good place at this point. We see some of that momentum continuing into next year as well, though it's a little early to call next year from a rural standpoint. There is a lot of positivity around that. We've seen some slowdown in urban, but there again, we feel that's more of a blip right now. So we would feel very confident that by Q1 next year, we're going to see the economy on a faster track from a growth standpoint.
Okay, does the budget kind of try to address the urban slowdown as well? Because in effect, a lot of that taxpayer savings that happen impact, I would presume, the urban consumer.
That's correct. The tax effect as well as the rate cut, a combination of both of those, will provide a stimulus from an economic standpoint. The key is to ensure that inflation does not come back, and that's a fine balance. And therefore, the RBI has its task cut out, but it's a balance I think they've handled very well in the past. And as they do that, I think we will be in a good place to see growth coming back.
Okay. I'm sorry if I'm putting you in a bit of a spot, but because you have US business interests as well, and I'm just trying to understand, what are your thoughts on the India-US meets that have happened? There is, I mean, the tariffs, reciprocal tariffs, what have you. Ridham Desai was here in the morning, and his note suggests that the risk of a large impact of reciprocal tariffs is very less. Would love to understand, one, that from you. And two, somebody invoked this thought and asked me to ask you this. I mean, what if there were trade agreements which were nearly equal to a free trade agreement between India and the US, and if all of those moves were to happen, what are the impact for Indian industry per se? Any thoughts?
So the starting point is that the relationship between India and the US is very strong. And I think that's a very important factor. Each country is going to take actions based on what is required for that country at that point in time. And on a longer term, we want the world to be completely free from a trade standpoint. And that's positive. We've seen the benefits of globalization in doing that. But we've also seen each country, and whether that's the US or China or Japan or Thailand or India, take actions based on what makes sense for every industry at a particular point. And our sense is that will play out in some form. I don't see a world where there is no tariff at all across the board. Right. That doesn't make sense for multiple countries because it depends on their phase or their life cycle at that point. So I think we will come to a place where it makes sense for both countries. There will be some industries that are hurt more than others possibly, depending on what finally happens. But I do feel that it will be in a place where it makes sense because India has to protect manufacturing in a significant way as well. And that's an important lever for India's growth for the next decade.
Yeah, I mean, and which is why my concern was that could that have an impact? Because for the last 3 years or 4 years, we've been talking about the China Plus One benefits coming into other ASEAN countries. Some of them have come to India as well. Do some of these trade agreements or reciprocal tariffs impact that manufacturing ambition in a meaningful way? You don't think that?
Given the relationship that we have between both countries, we feel that India will be possibly in the net gainer category. But as with the world right now, everything is unpredictable, so we shall just have to be agile and ready to respond.
Okay, let's move beyond manufacturing, Dr. Shah. I mean, and beyond just tractors and autos, which are, of course, doing very well for you. And by the way, I mean, it was great to see some of the large companies like yours, very few in Q3, which delivered very strong numbers, right? What's your sense about, the overall console performance for your group in the times to come? Because in some sense, it will do slightly better than GDP growth, but it will be a mirror or a reflection of what the inherent growth is. You are constructive on growth picking up for the country. Would that be safe to assume, therefore, that you are constructive on growth looking better for M&M in FY26 over what you've done in FY25, which has been a commendable job already?
That's the problem with doing well, and we've had a discussion at our board as well, saying that just the fact that you've done well raises expectations significantly. So the one thing I will say is, if you look at a Q3 results, it's our businesses beyond auto and farm that have actually grown much faster, and that's really helped. And auto and farm have done very well also, so it's been a combination of all of that coming together. And we feel confident that we can continue this because from our standpoint, it's more about operational excellence and ensuring that we're delivering everything we can by having our teams perform well on the ground. We have signed up effectively for growth at 2x GDP, and that's something we feel confident we can continue to deliver over the years.
But this is a mix of a lot of businesses, or at least one key business which is also very global in nature and therefore maybe not as aligned to the Indian GDP growth as maybe to the world GDP growth, right? In Tech Mahindra, etc. So when I look at the console, you reckon being 2x of GDP is a bit of a conservative estimate that you're putting right now? Under promise and over deliver?
Well, if 2x GDP is under promise, then I think we are in a good place.
No. I didn't mean it that way. But just by virtue of what you've done in the recent past, it seems that 2x is a bit of an under promise. Just that, nothing else. Okay. What about the GEMS strategy? We spoke about that briefly while we were together in the World Economic Forum as well. But now that you've just completed your Q3 numbers, how did you feel the rest of the non-auto businesses are doing for the group? And if you can just extend that argument for whether you see growth in those respective industries for the sector as well. I mean, whatever brief 50,000 feet view that you may have.
So we are seeing them do very well, actually. So if you go beyond auto and farm, first I'd start with Mahindra Finance and Tech Mahindra. Both are on a very good turnaround track, and in fact, now we are talking about going beyond the turnaround to achieve full potential. Both have underperformed in their markets, and that is where the growth really lies for us, to get to industry average first and then go beyond industry average to be one of the industry leaders. If you look at our growth gems beyond that, hospitality is one area that's growing very well in India. Logistics is a second one that has significant tailwinds, and especially as we think about manufacturing growing in India, logistics will logically extend that growth rate as well. Real estate continues to be on a very strong path, and that's benefited our business. Renewables continues to grow at a dramatic pace because generating power from renewables is much cheaper, in fact, than fossil fuel. So there's an economic argument for that, and from a company standpoint, we are moving from 26% of our power being renewables to over 60% in just this year, with our business Susten setting up various solutions for us. And that 60 will quickly go to 80 or 90% as well. And that was a very easy decision because it's actually cheaper for us. We save money by going to renewables. So you'll see more of that happening in that space. And therefore, we see multiple businesses, multiple sectors now well poised for significant growth.
Interesting. Some people go as far as to say it's a very small part of a business maybe, but that the next couple of years might actually be years where logistics businesses do really well. I know it's a small part of a business, just trying to understand. Any thoughts out there? It's a very niche question, but still.
Yeah, and not just next couple of years. I'd look at that for the next even 10 or 20 years. As manufacturing grows, as infrastructure becomes better, we're going to see logistics businesses grow at a much more rapid pace.
Okay. Last couple of questions, Dr. Shah. One is for this goal of Viksit Bharat, and as you said, both consumption and manufacturing have to contribute. For manufacturing, the issue that some people have been citing is that there is a skill gap in that, yes, there are jobs, yes, there are people available, but the right matching of skills isn't happening, and that's a problem for corporate India. Is that a problem that you are facing as well, and if so, how to resolve that?
It's clearly something that needs a lot of attention. It's not a problem we are facing today, but we will if we don't give it the due attention. So our focus is to do a lot of work with ITIs. We've in fact partnered with a number of ITIs to develop skilling programs for various people. The Mahindra Group is also focused on skilling for women. And we've taken on a target to skill and provide jobs for 1 million women. We're not going to provide all the 1 million jobs. There will be various other companies that do that. But we're going to focus on skilling, and that is an important contribution to society. So this is clearly an important part. If there are any companies out there that want to hire women across the country in various areas, please reach out to us. We're setting up skilling centers, and we'll be happy to work with you on that front, because this is something that we feel is an important part that India needs to do.
Why are men being left out?
Because we need to get equality in the workplace, right? So from that perspective, we need to have a lot more skilling for women.
Lovely answer. No, I didn't expect anything less. Okay, final thoughts really, Dr. Shah. And one is for all that India is doing on manufacturing, making in India for India, in some sense making in India for the world as well. Do you reckon that pie will grow larger as the decade rolls by? India's share of manufacturing for the world. Any thoughts there?
Yes, that has to grow larger because that is really the growth area for India. As we look at the goals for Viksit Bharat, manufacturing has to grow 16 times over the next 22 years. And I would say that companies in India are ready for that.
All right. Well, great. Lovely talking to you, Dr. Shah. Energizing conversation as always. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being with us.
Thank you.